one of our guys was out patrolling one night in town in a Jeep, and he saw this lady walking down the road. And so he stopped and he says, "Sorry, ma'am, but you have to be home. The curfew is on." She says, "No, I have to go to the hospital." He says, "No, you have to go home." And she says, "No, I have to go to the hospital." And she opened her throat up, and of course, she's very pregnant. And he, "Hop in, babe, you know." And he took her to the hospital. And on the way, she asked him what his name was. And he gave it to her, and she thanked him when she got to the hospital, and he left and took off and went through the whole war. And about 40 years later, we put up a monument in the town of Neufchâteau to our unit. And I was the MC, and I had designed the monument, so I was in charge of the thing. And this Belgian lady walked up to me, and she says, "Tell me, is Mr. So-and-so here?" Say Joe Blow for a name, because I don't remember what his name was. But she says, "Is Mr. Joe Blow here today?" And I said, "Yes, he is." She said, "I wonder if I could talk to him." "Yeah, sure. You just wait right there, and I'll go get it." So I went to find him, and I said, "Hey," I said, "there's a lady out here that wants to meet you." He says, "A lady?" He said, "I don't know any ladies." I told him, "So, well, I don't know what kind of women you chase around with, but this is a Belgian lady." "Now, I don't know any Belgian ladies." He's a Texan. He said, "I don't know no Belgian ladies." That's the way he said it, being a Texan. So I said, "Well, I don't know, but she sure knows you and she wants to talk to you." So I took him out and introduced him to her. And she says, "Do you remember the night just before the Battle of Bulge started? And I was walking down the road, you told me to go home because of the curfew. You wouldn't let me. I told you I wanted to go to the hospital." He says, "No, I don't remember that at all." She says, "Well, that's what happened." And she says, "You took me to the hospital and I asked what your name was." And so she had her arm around this big guy standing next to her, about 50 years old. She says, "This is Joe Blow Schmidt or something, whatever their family name is." And this guy about had a fit. He couldn't believe all this. And so anyway, they talked for a while, and he just couldn't remember doing it. Well, it was all through. I was walking back to where I picked him up, and I said, "You know, you're the luckiest guy I ever met." He says, "What is us?" I said, "Well, all of us brought our wives over with us except for two guys, and you were one of them." And I said, "I was just wondering what kind of life you would lead with your wife if she knew that there was a baby in Belgium with your name."